for his
golden.
squirreliness.
Yeah, man. Oh man, you sound like crisp.
Do I?
Man, I
Yeah.
want
You got that
headphones,
good
too.
radio voice.
Yeah.
I need headphones. God
Yeah.
damn.
Got that,
Well,
got that deep voice.
Oh, I
man.
I
got-
feel important too.
I got these fancy here. Here you go. Here you go.
He got some
Oh,
headphones
I get
that
I
don't.
get the headphones.
Yeah,
Listen.
Yeah, the new ones don't look
Does that
like they
sound
belong
you
to a
just, you
6-year-old
just want to hear
girl.
my voice.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
It's crispy. I spread no expense. I got the actual
No
producer
wonder people
headphones.
wear headphones all the time.
Yeah,
Because
I-
David's gonna start
Radio
singing
stations, man.
The biggest reason for the headphones, why a lot of podcasters do, is because you're less likely to overtalk each other if if your head is being bombarded by everybody.
Yeah.
So that's why
it makes you
we
not
need
want to talk
get,
over
No,
each
we
other.
need to get these for everybody. Though.
All right. I mean,
Yeah, this is.
I
Yeah,
got-
listen to that.
I got those at Guitar Center.
That's like
I've
incredible.
Those
worn
are-
headphones before.
That is incredible. No, but the way it sounds, like that's
Yeah. Oh,
that's
I got
really
Makes
feedback.
it look more professional too.
It does.
I like
it really
that.
does.
Oh, you
Yeah.
do sound good on the mic. Good job, Derek.
Right?
Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Welcome back to more Artistry Unearthed. We are Cryptic Tattoo and Social Gallery here in Springfield, Missouri. I am Nate.
I'm Kelsey.
I'm Dave.
And with us is a very special guest, an awesome artist from Mad Goat, actually owner of Mad Goat Tattoo in Columbia, Missouri, Derek Hoskins.
How are you guys? I'm Derek from Mad Goat Tattoo. They also call me the Goat Man. I have owned Mad Goat Tattoo now for about 3 years. We are located right off Vandiver Drive in Columbia, Missouri. I am excited to be here today with Cryptic Tattoo and Social Gallery. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, man. No,
absolutely.
it's awesome to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So,
Goat, that's scary.
Mad Goat.
Mad.
Yeah. So, I guess, which you already touched on, which is fantastic. Well, I wish we could have you just to kind of script all of these things because we just make stuff up on the fly But when it
that's
comes
good.
to Mad
That's
Goat,
how it should be.
Yeah. So when it came to Mad Goat, you said you started it 3 years ago. Right?
Yeah.
And did you? And was it your first shop you ever owned?
Yeah. So I've always had the dream, obviously, as any artist that, kind of has been in this industry for a long time. It's always your dream, I guess, to open up a shop. That's ideally what I see a lot of artists do or that have done.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, it's always your end goal is to always try to build something for yourself, build a legacy and a brand. So I started Mad Goat Tattoo 3 years ago. I worked at a shop downtown in Columbia, and it just, wasn't working out well. So it was time for me to kind of branch out and spread my wings and decided to do my own thing. And I give a lot of credit and hats off to my wife, man. She really pushed me to really, start this whole thing. And so I kind of just went out on my own and started it and, took my chance and seen what happened.
So when you went, did you were you alone or did you have a team? Did you have people that followed you?
So in the beginning, no, I was completely alone. I did, like I said, I obviously have the support of my wife and my children and things like that. Rooting their dad on, supportive family. My wife's family is very supportive. So I had everyone's support, I knew that I could do it.
Yeah.
But I was alone whenever I initially started Mad Goat. I started really small. I mean, we started out in a 600 square foot building.
Mm-hmm.
So not very much space. So it was originally kind of like a private studio in the beginning. Is kind of what I started out as. And I mean, I never expected it to kind of explode, I guess.
Yeah.
And as a business owner, I'm sure anybody can vouch for this. It's scary taking that leap of faith.
Sure. Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Jumping off the deep end and saying, I'm going to full send everything, because you're so worried about disappointing your family.
Mhm.
I think at
Right.
the end of the day, you don't want to be a failure.
You want their
learn to
investment.
swim really quick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You end up jumping
Oh,
into
yeah.
a pond full of big fish
Yep.
is what happens.
It's their
And-
investment too, and you don't want to like make them feel like their time and energy in you because it, like behind the scenes, we all have significant others, we all have families, and it's like it affects like a whole chasm of people, not just us. It's not just
Right.
our name, it's not our reputation, and that's a lot of pressure. And
Yeah.
you and your wife have been like, I don't know, you're like a power couple in the scene.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's cool to watch. And
Yeah.
so hats off to her, absolutely.
Yeah.
We all know what it's like to have somebody in our corner.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
And I mean, I know sometimes she doesn't feel like sometimes she gets the credit that she deserves, but like it really is a lot of based around her. She came out and supported me, and looked me dead in my face and told me, if you want this, you're going to go out and do it, and make sure that you do it right and do it correctly, because you don't want to disappoint anybody, obviously, and you want to be the best self that you can be, in this industry. And that was always a goal and a dream of mine. I grew up in a town, a very small town, very country town, being told, in high school and things like that, that I really wasn't ever going to be anything, and that kind of hurt, and so it kind of fueled my fire, I feel like. And so it was always my dream to open up my own shop from the get-go. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a name or nothing like that. It was just kind of an over the night.
Yeah, you went at it completely just stripped down.
Yeah.
Because generally you kind of have some sort of brand, some sort of, name based of what you're going to go off of before you even start laying that. That's your groundwork right there. And then you kind of go from there. But to just jump in it, not have anything solidified is that's pretty ballsy.
I think it's interesting how your shop kind of has like a hybrid model, that you're not just doing tattoos. So can you tell us about like how that works with your wife and what she does?
What all are you doing there?
So we a lot of people that follow us on our pages and things like that know that we have just now currently opened a brand new location. Me and my wife sunk our everything into our new spot. Like I said, originally Mad Goat started out as a little 600 square foot building. We were in a really uppity scale neighborhood. It didn't really make sense why the shop was there, but I had it there, and it was my start. You know what I mean? And so when it came time to now, I realized, oh God, my brand's growing. You know what I mean? It was time for now. Like, I had artists wanting to come work with me. Now I have people wanting to come guest spot with me. I'm like, and I don't have the space for it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out because I don't want to turn anybody away. I want to work with these people. I want to constantly evolve in my industry, and I want to work with people that are just as talented, if not more talented than I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's the only way we're ever going to grow is if we work around other people with different experiences and skill sets and things like that.
Right.
So I feel honored when I get invited to come do things like this or anything like that. So I didn't have the space, and that's where it all began. I was like, okay, I don't have the space. It's time to expand. I've made it. I've made a statement in this town. I can now breathe and feel like now I can have the financial backing to pull this off.
Right.
Yeah.
So my wife also owned her own little salon. My wife is a full-blown hairstylist. She's been doing hair for a really long time. So it's kind of cool. It's like a dynamic duo. I'm a tattoo artist. She's a hairstylist, She specializes in a lot of really bright, colorful hair. A lot of people in the tattoo industry, as you see, have really bright, colorful hair.
Yeah.
She specializes in doing really cool hair. She doesn't just do any basic,
Right.
things.
She was just doing granny cuts or kid cuts. It wouldn't have been as good of a fit.
And
but she's doing that.
So she,
cool stuff.
believe it or not, my old shop was 8 minutes down the street from my house. Where I live currently in Columbia. And so it was really convenient to get back and forth. And then my wife, her little salon was right up on the hill from our house. You could literally walk straight from our house to her spot. The thing was, whenever I sat down one night and said, look, I think we can expand. I think it's time. We sat down. We thought it out financially. We planned that we were going to spend a lot of money, of course. We went through a lot of denials on paperwork, not getting approved for buildings and things like that, because in Columbia, the renters are not always as nice as you would like them to be.
Right.
Unfortunately,
we saw that here.
That's how it is here.
We were surprised that they let us have.
It's cutthroat, man. It's so cutthroat, and it's like I would get approved to come look at a building, and then come to find out, I'd get a call from the realtor, and they'd be like, "Oh, well, actually this zoning is not going to allow this." And I'm like, well, now we're back to square one. And now I've got to be out of my old shop by the end of the year. So now what am I really going to do? Now I'm freaking out because I'm losing time. And so anyway, the deal was like, look, babe, I sat down and told her, we're going to sit down and do this together. We're going to build something. We're going to build a legacy. We're going to build something this town's never seen, because this town doesn't have this. And so we just pushed through. We kept pushing, and we finally came across a realtor and a renter that was allowing to give us the perfect building for what we decided to do. So we started construction immediately. We moved everything out of our old salons. We consolidated both businesses together, and we started Mad Goat Tattoo and Sharp Edge Salon. My wife does full-blown hairstylist. In one of our sections of our shop, we have a lash tech. She also does waxing, things like that. Anything beauty cosmetic, she takes care of that for us. We also have dreading and locking, and then I have 4 full-blown tattoo artists that work for me full-time as well. And all of them are very talented, and one of my artists is actually opening up his own little location out of Jeff City currently. So
right on.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's pretty awesome, man.
So you've actually been able to do quite a bit with more than just tattooing, and it was mostly because like the town needed something more than just another tattoo shop.
Yeah, exactly, man. And that's what I wanted to give. Like, I see a lot of tattoo shops that go and do a lot of consolidating with how they want to do their shops around where we are at. They want to do like art gallery and things like that. And I love that. Don't get me wrong, but I wanted to be different. I wanted to give somebody a place where they can come be in that one-stop cosmetic shop, you know, like I wanted that because people care about their cosmetic stuff. You know, people care about getting their hair done. They care about getting their tattoos done. They care about getting their lashes done, you know, if they want to get their hair dreaded or locked up. Like, people care about those things. So if I can make that a one-stop place, then I feel like everybody in the business can, you know, work together. And as the client's walking out of the door, they can stop by that booth and be like, hey, I want to book a tattoo appointment. Oh, I also can get my hair done here as well. You know, it's just that one-stop place where, you know, you can come and feel safe and get your services done.
Well, and the nice thing about those esthetician things is a lot of those are on a recurring model. And so those people are coming in every so many weeks to get their hair touched up, to get their lashes redone. Yeah. And then maybe those
foot traffic.
Those people might have been intimidated to walk into a shop and not know, like, can I trust these people with my body? I don't know these people. But if it's in an environment where they see, you know, people that they already trust with other services are working well with you and interacting with you and trust you enough to be married to you at the very least. So they're like, oh, okay, maybe these guys are fine. Like, maybe we can talk to them about this idea of these doing around. And
the cool thing was, like, we did a dynamic in our new shop that we really made it to be that way. Like, exactly like you're saying, we made it comfortable for you to walk in, and we made it not feel like a tattoo shop fully. You know what I mean? Like, it has tattoo shop influences in it, you know, but it's not that scary, like, ego tattoo shop. You immediately walk in, it's just, you know, craziness as soon as you walk in. You know how some shops can be, you know. We wanted to give people comfortability when they walked in. You know, that's why we went out and we had custom furniture made that is super comfortable for our clients to sit in. We provide them with coffee, snacks, drinks. We also, you know, gave them cool custom like painted artwork on our tables even to look at. You know, cool. Like we really tried to match the aesthetic of what do clients like when they walk into a place? You know, what can make somebody feel comfortable and not turn shoulder as soon as they walk through the door?
Make them feel taken care of instead of having that like, oh, it's a cigarette butt in an alleyway kind of vibe that a lot of places go for.
Well, that seems to be the trend now is breaking that mold of the stereotypical street shop.
Yeah, that was our drive for here.
It's step foot, you know, when you walk in and it's just
grimy.
It's grimy. You get that feel. And not that, you know, street shops are totally bad, because that's all part of the history, you know, behind it. But I mean, tattoo studios are evolving like rapidly to where they're very high scale, very, you know, when people walk in, they're just like blown away. Like, wow, this is really a tattoo studio.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's exactly what it is, you know? And then, you know, they like that ability to feel that comfortable.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes.
And the more you're willing to be flexible and the more you're willing to center what you do around your client's experience, the more you're going to grow and that clientele is going to expand to people you wouldn't have met in your regular walk of life on the daily before.
Yeah, you're going to get different types of people.
Yes,
you know? A different type of clientele that you would not expect any other time to walk
the
through
type
the
of
door.
Clientele that honestly that all of us desire is what you're going to get. I mean, and it's constant, like you guys said, it's constant foot traffic through my shop. It's one client comes through and they walk straight past my booth because I'm in an open cubicle. I made myself center of attention for a reason in the shop because I wanted it to be where you walk by and you see immediate cool custom artwork being done and it immediately attracts you.
Yeah, I get that. I worked in a studio to where literally my station was in the front window of the shop. Like, it had 2 big bays, and one of them, you know, my station sat right in front of the sidewalk. It was just like right there. So as people were walking by, they could literally stop, and it was like window shopping.
Yep.
They could sit there and watch me tattoo. You know, I had numerous people that would walk by and stop, and they would stand there for a good 10, 15 minutes while I'm, you know, working on somebody. Yeah. So to be able to be that center of attention as people walk in, absolutely.
It demystifies it.
Yeah.
Because if you haven't ever walked in a tattoo shop before, it's like, how does that work? What goes on in there? What's it like?
Exposure.
It's kind of scary. Yeah. So if you see it happening, you're like, you know exactly what you're going to get. Right. You know, I'm going to sit with this guy who's not doing anything sketchy.
You can watch
on that chair. He's wearing gloves. His equipment's all wrapped. Like he's doing real art on a person. It demystifies it.
And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted it to give people the look that they don't have to be nervous to get a tattoo. They see everything being done right in front of their faces. So there's nothing for me to hide. I'm not pulling a dirty needle out of a package. You know, like you watch every single thing that I'm doing from complete setup to complete teardown. And you can call me out if, you know, you see something, you know, like those are the things I want to happen, you know, but it's never going to happen because like I said, all of us have been in this industry long enough. We know how to break and tear down our stations properly, no cross-contamination.
Yeah, if you're doing it
like
right
that.
from the beginning, you have nothing to hide.
Exactly, you know.
And people like to watch. They like to learn as the process. They like to ask questions, and that's something that we've talked about is, you know, ask questions.
And I feel like it makes your client more comfortable, too, with you in the end. It really does. I feel like it makes them feel like they can trust you whenever they watch you do everything right in front of them. Because they realize, like, you're doing everything in your ability to make sure their tattoo comes out the exact way that it should, and with no mess ups, you know. And there's no room for error anymore in this industry. I really don't believe there is. I think we all have to hold ourselves to a higher standard. I mean, really.
And there's enough competition now that if you aren't going to be careful, you're going to the bottom of the barrel.
Oh,
People will go somewhere else.
Quickly.
The garbage will take itself out, but there's a lot, just as many on the other side that are wanting they're running with the curve. You know, they're seeing the future of it and they're excited to be a part of it. And I mean, I'm not a competitive person. I see all the other studios that are in the same league as us as like peers, but you know, and as an independent artist, you do have to keep working to stay relevant and to stay on top, to stay in their front of mind. And I think it's really impressive how many different aspects that you put into your shop and how many different services you have. And I'm curious, were those other services like something you wanted to do from the very beginning, or was it like you happened to find somebody that is, you know, and you're like, actually, that would be cool? Like, what was it, the person or the job that?
So funny story. So like my wife, for example, our lash tech and everything, my wife gets her lashes done. You know, my wife's very beautiful. Everybody knows. She likes to take care of herself, you know, and she deserves that. You know, I want to make sure that she's happy at the end of the day. So originally she was getting her lashes done by, which is now our lash tech that works for, you know, our shop. Her name's Stephanie. She's amazing at what she does. Her and my wife built a really awesome friendship. They're both Greek. So that's probably why they clicked so well. So they clicked very well from the beginning. You know, they have a lot in common. And my wife was getting lashes done by her for a very long time. And believe it or not, Stephanie needed my assistance through apprenticeship to get a certain certification for, you know, to do permanent makeup and things like that, like lip liner. They do require it. And I don't have no like business being in that industry. I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to that. But I can license somebody, you know, and what I did was I took a very soft approach with Stephanie to make sure that she can get her certification done. She's still under my apprenticeship, so I'm having her do just basic fine line tattooing and things like that. That's
that was going to be my next question. Is that, are you doing something that's extremely basic as far as apprenticeship is concerned?
Yes. And it's just literally, I'm not trying to turn her into a tattoo artist. Right. That's not her wheelhouse, and she knows that. And my goal at the end of the day is just get her to be able to learn basic fundamentals, because her fundamentals and the way that she does things in that industry is way different than what I do in my industry. Right. You know what I mean? It's two totally different things, but unfortunately the state requires it to be under the same license. So she kind of has to go find a tattoo artist that's willing to apprentice her. So that's how that all came about. My wife pitched me the idea, look, she's willing to trade services. If you can do this, she's willing to give me this, you know?
Yeah.
And
funny how that works. You do that, I get this.
Yep.
There you go.
And so I was willing to, because I like Stephanie, you know, and I liked Stephanie from the beginning. She's super funny. She always, you know, is super uppity kind of person. You know, it's really fun to work with her. She's like, I call her the little princess of the shop. Honestly, she's always got the hot pink stuff, the hot pink ink caps. Like everything is, you know, hearts and kisses for Stephanie. That's literally what she is, you know.
Right.
And her and my wife just love each other, man. Their energy is super contagious when they're in the shop giggling and laughing. And so Stephanie had her own little place, and whenever we built this from the ground up, it was always a dream for us to obviously have the tattoo shop and the hair salon.
Mm-hmm.
But then our next door neighbor and my wife and all of us are like really good friends and family as well. We treat them like family. We've even went on vacation with them as a family. She loves doing dreading and locking and things like that. She went out and got her certification, and we were like, look, we have an extra space. We think it would be really cool to implement you into our shop as well. You know, here's our pitch. Do you want it? You know, this is what we'll require. And, you know, they took it, you know, they chomped at the bit to come and work for us and, you know, build their own businesses, because that's what we want in our shop. It's not, everything is not just under us. Like, I want my people in our shop to have their own business technically. Mm-hmm. But we want to give you the avenue to be able to work your business out of our building and, you know, have a comfortable, safe place for your clients to come.
Right.
And so that's what we did. And it kind of evolved into that. I mean, it really did.
That's cool.
It was overnight. Just me and my wife was like, we can do this, this, and this, and this, and this. And I'm like, dude, we have a freaking legacy now.
Yeah.
Like, boom, we have it. You know, and that's what I was, you know, stressing to my wife actually a week or two ago. I was saying how our shop is honestly, it was designed to be able to network with every single client that walks through that door, no matter if that client's getting hair, no matter if they're getting lashes, you know, like it is to stop them at your booth and say, hey, can you check out what I do as my service? Take a business card with you. It's all networking.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they're going to constantly, like you guys said, it's a revolving door. They're going to constantly come back in to get their hair done. They're going to eventually pull the trigger on getting a tattoo. I promise you. And
or they're going to be talking to their sibling, and their siblings will be like, man, I was thinking about this tattoo. And they'll be like, oh, I know a guy.
And they're like, oh my gosh, I know this really cool place. You know, they're going to tell their friend, you know, like tattoos come up in conversation with friendships all the time. I hear it all the time. You know, I walk into places, actually, it's funny. I walk into places in restaurants and stuff, and people see my face tattoos and things like that. And I can overhear them talking, and they'll get to talking about tattoos, and then I'll just randomly turn around and be like, hey, I'm sorry to butt in your conversation, but I'm actually a tattoo artist. Here's my business card.
Oh, yeah.
and it's funny, man, and it works out.
Suddenly
like
your dinner's a write-off now.
Exactly.
It's a business expense. Your marketing.
Yeah, the minute you mention that, that receipt
I don't know how many times at Whitewater or at the lake, you know, like, oh man, I got this back piece. It needs redone. Like, have you seen it? It's garbage. Yeah, I assumed. I don't say it quite like that, but like, well, here's my card. Suddenly our boat rental's a write-off. You know?
Yeah.
So with all the different aspects of your business and the people involved, and you've been running Mad Goat for about 3 years, but you have this new, bigger facility. Like, what are, as a business owner in general, but also here lately for you with all the stuff you're juggling, what are the biggest like pain points? What are the biggest struggles as a business owner that you're facing?
I'm sure anybody can attest for this. Not having enough time in the day. 24 hours is not enough time.
That's me.
I mean, it's literally just not having enough time, man, because as a family man, I have 2 beautiful children as well. I like to spend time with my kids. I like to spend time with my wife. I do love to spend time with my clients. It's nothing against my clients, but I do have a family outside of tattooing. And I don't live this cliche tattoo life of I work till 3 a.m. every morning.
Right.
You know, like,
but
I don't
somehow, some way you find to squeeze 27 hours out of a 24-hour day.
Yeah, because every day, and I tell my wife this, and I tell anybody that meets me and knows who I am, I don't stop working. It never stops. My business page is constantly ringing. You know, it's a good feeling. Don't get me wrong. It's a great feeling, but I feel like sometimes it's not enough time, because I feel like I'm trying to be like Superman. I'm trying to, you know, fix the whole world.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's just not enough time. I'm trying to respond. I'm trying to also post to 7 social media sites to make sure that my name's getting recognized. Like, it's a lot. And then on top of that, I'm also trying to be a dad. I'm making sure that I'm picking up groceries for my wife from Aldi's if she gets an order, you know, like, It's a lot. And then on top of that, I make sure I leave the shop at a certain time every day to pick my son up from school so that my wife can pick my daughter up.
It's tough. There's so much sacrifice that is involved that a lot don't understand and see that sacrifice. And as much as I hate to say it, I mean, your family generally pays the price for that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many birthdays I've missed, how many, anniversaries, things of that nature that they go to the wayside. I mean, you still find time for certain things, but you miss birthdays, a lot of birthdays,
yes.
Because you're here at work. You're just, you spend those long hours, you get home, dinner's made, your dinner's cold. It's those sort of things. I mean, and it sucks. I mean, but those sacrifices pay off in the end.
Yeah.
I mean, in my 25 years, it's been a lot, and I'm now getting to that point to where a lot of those things are starting to pay off, to where I'm getting more time at home and those things. But I mean, you still run into situations to where you're still overloaded, and it's like, man, there's not enough time in the day to do the things that I really need to do. And you find yourself purposely trying to create time,
right?
Yeah.
To do these things because you've got this going on, this going on, this going on, this going on, this going on. And how do you shuffle that? How do you
right?
Each person's only limited to like an hour. You get an hour, and you get an hour, and you get an hour.
And like you said, it's always there's always one phone call or one text to that same person. Like, I'm going to be late. Or I'm not gonna,
and then in between those hours that you're giving to those things, another one pops up out of nowhere, and it's like, oh, hey, I need this. Can you do this? Can you be here to do this?
Yeah.
Oh man.
And as a shop owner, you just pretty much, and I mean, there's 3 of us owners, but like we all have different lifestyles, and we balance it well. But it's like,
it's still hard
for me. It's like, I know I don't have kids, it's just like, I have the bigger vehicle. I have, so it's like, if I have the means to do something and I know that there's something that needs to be done, like, why not me?
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, hell, I'm already out. Why not me again? Why not me? Why not me? Why not me? And everybody's doing this independently. Like, there's 3 of us that are doing exactly that, to where we don't see each other.
Yeah.
Because we're all doing like, well, I'm
taking care of business,
And Kelsey's been a blessing, because she's just like, hey, let me grab the debit card. I'll go and run some errands.
Because it sucks sometimes, dude. When I come in, and it's like, I want to see my whole entire tattoo family, and it's like, I get to see maybe 1 or 2 of them, and it's like, okay, where's everybody else?
And at the end of the day, you're kind of bummed out because you're bored, you know? And like,
we're not busy. Just come and sit. I'm good with that.
I know how that feels, man, because like, so when I started Mad Goat Out, I was by myself. I mean, being in that, and I'm not serious. I'm being serious, guys. 600 square foot was tiny. It was not very big.
I was there, it was absolutely every bit of that small.
It worked. The state passed it. It was perfect for what I needed it for in the beginning, but like, I would get lonely in that little place, man, and it would take me back to a time of just being in a small space for a really long time, being locked away almost. It kind of felt like, and I love my clients to death, but like, there was times I got really bored in there, and it wasn't just with my, clients. It just, there wasn't much to do,
But let me ask you this. You sit there and you sit alone like that in a 600 square foot spot.
Yeah.
And how many of those days that you sat there by yourself pondering, how am I going to make this bigger and better and badder than what it is?
Yeah.
And yet here you are.
Yeah.
And it's bigger and better. And it's crazy because, and it's like,
I mean,
I'm sure there's not a quiet second now.
Because like, I go
absolutely.
back.
So you go back and you long for those quiet times again. You're like, damn, I'd love to go back to
right?
that.
You got people doing hair. That's noisy. You
got out of my misery.
Right.
Well, believe it or not, our new building is actually really perfect for what we did. So like,
is it kind of divided?
Yeah, it's very divided. So you walk in straight into our building. We're in like it's called Vandiver Plaza. So it's in a plaza square style setup. A lot of other strip businesses through there. There's a massage parlor next to us. There's a little restaurant down the way. Funny thing is, there's a church in my parking lot. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, we
There's
almost
one
have one
just
here.
literally just right over here on the corner.
So-
Big giant church.
So, and it gets packed on the weekends, but after they, clear out, the parking lot's wide open again. There's a back alley section to our parking lot that goes straight down to a dumpster and things like that.
Church
So-
people get tattooed too.
Yeah, they do, man. They do.
I've
They
tattooed half my church.
They get their crosses and Jesus, and I love doing tattoos like that, man. I don't discriminate against any tattoo that walks
all
through
walks
the
of
door.
life, man.
Nope.
Yeah.
All are welcome.
It's funny because I've never had been in a shop or around a shop that's been next to a church before, so I don't want to be the type that like they judge me because I have a tattoo shop that's called Mad Goat Tattoo right next to their church.
Well, we have our story is that our shop was going to be originally called Sinners Ink, and we were dead set on it. But I was like, guys, expect pushback. We know where we live.
Yeah,
and especially being next door to a church.
It didn't happen literally like 3 days. 3 days before we signed that lease. Oh, by the way,
we don't want the name.
We don't like the name. We can't have that.
Oh,
and we were just like, what do we do?
In chat.
Yeah.
There was another guy wanting to come in a spot 2 down from us that wanted to do a political shop that sold like merch,
Right,
and they wouldn't do that either. So they just do no religion,
I think
political.
I think oh boy ended up getting arrested for something.
That's also possible to happen,
Dang.
but they wouldn't let him name his shop what he wanted.
No,
but it's really
Even
cool.
less
So
long.
like you walk into our shop, man, and it's opens up into the little lobby section that we
Yeah.
have. Our lobby is pretty good, decent size. It's actually about the size of Cryptic. Believe it or not, our lobby is right
cool.
up in the
Just
front
the
area.
lobby?
Just the little lobby area is just about the size of your guys' front lobby section.
okay.
And then you walk in, we have a little merch booth right there. As soon as you walk in the door, we have a bunch of really awesome custom furniture. Shout out to our girl Tanya that did all our furniture, man. She did an absolute bang up job on our furniture, man. She went out and bought some old furniture and refurbished everything. I'm talking stripped it all the way down, putting brand new upholstery on everything.
Cool.
Dang.
She ended up putting on our chairs because our slogan is "Stay Mad." She put on the back of our 2 captains chairs that she made for us. She put "Stay Mad" in big black letters on the back of them with like this like crosshatch design.
Awesome.
So it looks really cool. And we went with like a Victorian Gothic vibe in our shop. So you walk in, it's immediate 2 chandeliers up in the ceiling when you walk in. All our furniture is super cool. We have hand painted tables that have tigers painted on them because we're in a college town, Mizzou Tigers. We kind of wanted to pay homage to that.
Yeah.
So I had custom hand painted tigers painted on these little end tables that we have that have our little like cauldrons and stuff on, and we have magazines that we've actually been published in. Me and Thomas have been published in a few tattoo magazines.
Yeah, right on.
So we had to put those in the the shop for people to look at, and then we immediately will come out and talk to you, see who you're working with, if you're going to be with my wife or, James or, Deacon or Thomas, we make sure you're getting to the right person. So any one of us can go out there and talk to the client. We have you sit down, we have you get started on paperwork, or we go tell the person that you're working with, hey, your client's here. But we have a set of saloon doors and we have it marked off as authorized personnel only. We don't let you just walk straight into the back of the shop yet. We want you to we want you to enjoy the lobby for a minute.
Yeah.
We have a really awesome floor that we put in our building. I know a lot of people have been really excited for our floor. I feel like more people have got excited for our floor than I was excited for paying for it.
That's kind of what we imagine. We're like,
right?
So I'm just like, yeah, everyone loves the floor. I love it too, but dang, man,
you
it
should
took a
charge
long
cover
time.
for it.
Yeah.
Try and get some of that cost back.
I'm gonna make people wear booties when they walk in.
The little surgical things that
Yeah.
go
The floor
through.
is lava unless you pay $5.
Yep.
Right?
And so we have a fully custom marble epoxy floor that we had a bunch of like white and gold flake put in the floor. I mean, it looks really awesome. It almost kind of looks like you're falling into our floor a little bit when you walk in. Then we have all the really custom furniture. So we want you to kind of enjoy the lobby in the beginning. That's something we never had at our old shop. We didn't really have a lobby. It was kind of like a cluster jumble mess. It was what I could produce for a lobby, with what I had at the time.
Yeah. And you rent your space, right? But you have a rent to own kind of setup.
Yeah, pretty. That would be the initial ending goal. Would be to rent to own my building. Yes.
Because that's so much money to invest in a spot that would be like,
Yeah,
oh, by the way, it's
yeah.
going to be an Airbnb next week. Get out.
No.
And
Yeah,
you
bye.
have like
No. And that's what's
Well,
cool
goodbye,
about our
awesome
landlord.
floor.
So our landlord's really awesome, man. We
Yeah.
lucked out with our landlord. He's really cool. He immediately accepted us from the beginning, and he didn't honestly hold my background against me at all. I was honest with him from the get-go. and he's just really cool. I mean, he's invited me into his own space to come, pet his dogs and stuff, like, I mean, the dude talks to me, and so I appreciate that. And it's kind of cool because I can immediately take my rent down on the days that I have to pay my rent. I can take it straight to him and give it straight to him hand in hand, so and what's cool is our parking lot is actually, there's a security company in the backside of our parking lot. They have security cars that patrol our parking lot at night. So,
nice.
Nothing,
That's handy.
nothing,
No
nothing's going to happen at my shop at all.
Right?
Everything's on camera. Everything is, taken care of. So
That's
I
good
never have to
neighbors to
worry
have.
about anything. Like my wife in the beginning was like, we need to get some cameras. I'm like, well, I don't think we need to. I was like, there's cameras that patrol this whole parking lot and our landlord saves them on his computer. If I want to see anything, I can go get it,
It saves you some money
And
for sure.
It does.
We
It
have our
does.
own setup, but we're having to invest in. We're looking into investing in another. Just you never know.
Yeah.
It's better to do it now before. And we've been really fortunate. We get some weirdos because we're a gas station is right next door to us.
Yeah.
But like overall,
Well,
we've been very fortunate. So
I know all too well about that. I worked at a shop downtown that was pretty rocky.
Got
so.
some fun characters come through. Spicy people.
We'll just say this: I've almost went to jail a couple times, guys. I'm not proud of it. I've had to put my hands on a few homeless people. Unfortunately, that came in and acted very, very sideways to some clients, and that's the thing. I protect my clients. I don't know a whole lot of artists that would probably go to the extent I would for some of my clients, but I'm not the one. We'll just put it that way. I don't take kindly to people walking in and just disrespecting my clients.
Right.
Man, you don't do that.
yeah,
man.
I don't
my
think I would
clients, this
either,
is
but
a
I
safe
haven't been in
place.
that situation yet.
I mean,
Yeah.
no, we've been fortunate enough to where we haven't had
Yeah.
any of those crickety homeless people
Yeah.
come. I mean, we've had them come in here, but
Everybody's been
They-
respectful.
but I think
Yeah.
a lot of it just because our rooms are closed off.
Yeah.
That they don't ever make it
Yeah.
past the pony wall to be
Yeah,
like
you
going
walk in
around.
and
And see,
everybody's
well, that
they
was
feel
like,
isolated
yeah.
immediately. Like they
Yeah.
already feel like all the walls are closing in on it. So it's like
Yeah.
they've
I
only
mean,
got
and that's
one way in and
unfortunately
one way
that's not
out.
how the old shop was that I worked for. That a lot of this would take place. A lot of the old shop I worked for was complete open cubicle. I'm talking the entire shop was open
It
to
was
the extent
a
of being
room
open,
with a bathroom closet.
and literally, and not only that, the whole front of the shop was bodegaed out. They had it. I mean, it was a lot going on in this building. A lot of businesses that probably shouldn't have been clashed together because it brought in a different crowd of people. It brought in a not good crowd of people. It brought in a lot of young kids. It brought in a lot of drunk people because they sold vapes out of there. It just was not a good crowd. And then you got to understand it's a Mizzou college town. It was right next to the bar. So kids are partying. They're coming in there completely hammered drunk.
yeah.
That is so difficult. Yeah,
And
I get
you
that.
you
I
are
don't think we've had
sitting there.
anybody come in
and-
intoxicated since we've been here that I've seen.
I've worked at a studio down at the lake, and it was literally right next door to a bar.
Yep.
And it was nothing for them to stumble out of there at 11:30,
right?
Yep.
and be like, "Oh man, let's go get a tattoo." Yeah,
Right.
You know, had a guy come in. Oh yeah, no, I want to get a tattoo. Well, what do you want to get? Oh, I want to get a beer mug. Didn't you just have enough of that next door? And now you want one on you? Okay,
Oh,
that's
man.
great. How about
We'll
you go home, sleep
We'll
that off,
schedule
and
it for
think
tomorrow
about it?
morning. Yeah, we'll talk
Yeah.
about it in the
Funny
morning.
story about what I was
Jesus.
doing downtown, and I'm not gonna lie. At the time, being in that downtown atmosphere, I thought that's how tattooing was supposed to be. I was fresh out of prison, and I felt like where I was working was the only spot that was giving me a chance.
Sure. Yeah.
And I don't discredit them people at all, man. Honestly, things obviously didn't go the way that they were supposed to in my career with them. But at the end of the day, I had an avenue. I was doing my job. I was working. I was building a name for myself. A lot of the clients that I had made there actually came with me when I left and did my own thing. So, that's another big thing. And like everyone says in this industry, the trash will take itself out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so whenever I left, it was a big relief. But like I said, I don't discredit the people at all. I had an avenue to work. But I was there to hustle. I was there to make money. And I was being taught a probably not so good way and passion and drive of tattooing in the beginning. I guess, fresh out of prison, I was being taught the way of walk-ins need to happen, and tattoo on anybody that walks through the door. And so that's what I was being taught. Right. And so that's what I was doing. I mean, I'm not joking. I wouldn't leave the shop sometimes till 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And I thought that's what tattooing consisted of. Right. And I'm like, man, this life is shitty, I mean, excuse my language.
So is that where you learned how to tattoo, was in prison?
No. Believe it or not, I started tattooing when I was really young. It's really crazy, actually. I started tattooing when I was 11 years old.
What were you using? Did you have like a legit machine? I
had a machine, believe it or not, that I kind of picked off my uncle.
Okay, so you didn't even like jimmy rig something. No, like you had an actual machine. I had
a legit coil machine. I had an old just whatever. I don't even think this machine was a registered machine by like a legit machine builder. I think it was
probably just handmade.
I think handcrafted. It wasn't no Mickey Sharps or nothing like that. But it was a heavy old coil bastard. I mean, it was a paperweight. And I remember my uncle, actually, he's not even really my uncle. He's through step family. He was living with my grandmother, and he was doing a lot of shady stuff to my grandmother and things like that. And so, being the kid that I was, very rambunctious, very, crazy kid, I stole all his tattoo stuff.
I thought you were going to say he taught you and brought you. You're like, no,
he was not good at all. My uncle was not good. I seen him tear a lot of people up in my grandmother's kitchen. Yeah. I seen a lot of drunk people getting tattooed in my grandmother's kitchen. So what's funny is that side of my family, I grew up around a lot of like bikers and things like that. Mm-hmm. So a lot of drinking, a lot of booze when I was over there, a lot of, just weird nights with that side of my family that I probably shouldn't have seen when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I was induced into a lifestyle that, like I said, that was not good for a child to be around. And it was all happening under my grandmother's house. And then my mother's house was right next door to that. And so, it just wasn't a good scene. My stepdad and them were always having parties. And, I mean, it's just constant. So I would see things that and the tattooing thing kind of intrigued me a little bit. When I would see him doing these tattoos, I'm like, man, that's really cool. And then I remember my mom and dad, when they were together growing up as a kid, they would come home and my dad would have a new tattoo or something like that. My dad was getting his tattoos professionally done out of a shop in Mexico when I was younger.
Mexico or Mexico, Missouri?
Mexico, Missouri.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And one of the tattoo artists that was doing my dad's work actually was in a magazine years and years ago for a koi fish that he did on my dad's forearm. So my dad was getting really good tattoos, So coming home as a kid, I would be like, Dad, because my dad would bring his stencils home. The artist would let him keep his stencil from putting it on him. And I would love it, dude. I would try to go re-stick this stencil back on me as a kid, and my dad would show me the deodorant trick, what he would watch or what he knew,
We keep a couple sticks, Andy.
And so growing up, I kind of always loved, the thought of tattoos and what tattoos were. And then whenever I'd seen, like I said, my step uncle at my grandmother's house doing what he was doing. And then, like I said, he was doing a lot of shady stuff to my grandmother. And as a kid, I kind of had to grow up fast. So I knew what was going on. And I was like, man, I'm not standing for this. Like, I'm going to stand up for my grandmother. And stole his stuff. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I took his things and I started just scribbling on myself. I mean, a lot of my stuff's covered up now, but
I was going to ask if you still have any or they're all covered.
So then you do that. You lift your step uncle's stuff and then you scribble on yourself. So then you end up incarcerated. Did you do any tattooing in there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, like I said, I tattooed really young. I stole all his things. And then I was scribbling on myself a little bit when I was younger. And then I realized, I can be decent at this. And I started tattooing on some younger friends, and things like that. And it evolved for up until I was right at 16 years old. And I actually got pretty decent, at line work and things like that. And I realized this is actually something I wanted to do way before prison even came about. Like, I was tattooing. I knew I was actually collecting. I was researching actual tattoo artists. I fell in love with Paul Booth, fell in love with a lot of really awesome artists. I ended up getting a book I remember called Tattoo Soup from a thrift stop,
That's
a
a
thrift
great
shop. And this book had
How
Mickey.
to
This
tattoo
book
for
had
dummies.
this book had Mickey Sharps in there. It was
Right.
it had all the original gangsters of tattooing talking about just their lives about tattooing, and then I actually remember reading about Ted Nelson, Tattoo Ted. He was the first one to own a shop sitting on the lake strip.
Tattoo Ted. Oh my God,
yeah.
dude. The stories I
Yep.
can tell you about
I
that,
have
dude. That is a nightmare.
Yep.
Dude, that is a nightmare. I don't know how many times we called health inspectors and we called the state and complained. Like, to me, like, there was a day, I'll never forget it. We went out, I was standing out front of the studio, and his shop was literally right across the street. And he come out there with a damn monkey on his shoulder. A monkey. He had a monkey inside his studio.
Monkeys are cool.
Like that. Okay, so that, like, okay,
Not
you
the
would
most
walk in.
hygienic.
You would walk into his
And he had
shop,
the largest flash
and it was
collection.
literally the most bright neon in your face. Like, you had
Everything
to
he
wear
did was like
sunglasses
that.
to walk into this because it just glowed. Like, it glowed. Like, you could like turn off all the lights in the studio and still be able to see because of all the lights in his. And it was, we just couldn't believe it. Like, he would have animals in there all the time. We're like, that cannot be
That's
like
Tattoo
good.
Ted.
But yeah, he
Tattoo
did.
Ted and Jan.
Just,
Yep.
man, oh my God, dude.
I actually picked through his personal collection. I have parts of his personal collection in my own tattoo shop to this day. I have a full-blown embroidered shirt that belonged to him that he wore on his own body that I bought from him before he passed away. That sits in my shop to this day on a coat hanger.
Dude, that was a scary studio.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude.
Yeah,
That was a
Tattoo
scary
Ted was
studio.
like a pioneer, you know.
But then again,
and
I'm not
it's-
going to say that the studio I was in wasn't scary because, man, there was some shit going on there
Yeah,
too. It was
yeah.
just like, oh my God.
But these
Different
were the
standards.
well, this is the
Yeah,
thing. These were the
totally.
OGs that I'm talking about. Like these were the dudes. Like I've read stories about Paul Booth. He's stabbed a dude in his own shop with a pitchfork before.
Paul Booth
and
has
put the
done some
pitchfork
weird,
back
sketchy
onto
stuff.
his own. Put the pitchfork back onto his own wall with dude's blood on it. I'm like, that can't pass health inspection now. Like, but this is the thing. These are the dudes I was reading about at a really young age, and I'm like, man, I think I'm gonna jump full force into this industry. And then, unfortunately, like I said, being kind of a troublemaker kid, you know, I ended up getting incarcerated. I ended up getting trialed as an adult at the age of 16. And got set down to prison. I stepped foot into JCCC, which is a level 5 prison at the age of 17. I literally had stepped foot there on my birthday.
That is an intense prison. That's maximum security.
Yeah, and I stepped foot in there and did a little bit of time there, and then they transferred me over to Crossroads in Cameron. And I spent a lot of my time in Cameron. I ended up doing about 4.5 years there before they transferred me out of there. And then I spent my last remaining year and a half or so up there by Farmington in their little drug treatment program they put me in. Because like I said, troubled kid, man. A little bit of touch backstory. Don't know if you guys want to ask.
No, it's entirely up to you.
You don't have to go into any detail about any of that mess. I mean, it's
valuable.
It's just that aspect that you went in, you did those things, you tattooed while you were even in there, and then still came out on the other side, and again, here you are. Flourishing in an industry that is set out there for some big people.
Some real heavy hitters.
There's some heavy hitters out there, and
that was the
here
thing.
you are again. To me, even being in the industry as long as I have, still feel like I'm a small fish in a big pond.
Yeah.
There's some big cats out there that can really do some work.
It'll humble you, man.
But
it really does.
It's crazy to hear your story from where you started to where you're at now.
Yeah.
And see how far you've grown. My biggest thing, and I was sitting here thinking about this while you're explaining everything. So explain to me how all of this developed the style that you have currently, because when I look at your work is definitely different than most. So you've created your own style of work.
I've always had an illustrative kind of mind. I'm very photogenic in my brain. Like my brain allows me to really like know how to put concepts together that like seem like they shouldn't go together, but then they end up somehow going together.
Yeah.
and I kind of mix and flourish styles into my style that I do. So I kind of mix like because I have a fundamentally rounded background of like traditional. You see that a lot in my work, a lot of bold lines, a lot of things like that. So fundamentals, I immediately learned traditional right off the flip. When I started tattooing at a young age, I was immediately teaching myself fundamentals because that's what I got told in these books that I was reading, you know.
So you're more book taught.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm more book taught. Nobody really ever taught me like good concepts of art until prison, believe it or not.
So then that leads me to that other question. So you never really had a formal apprenticeship then at all.
No.
Okay.
I went to prison, and I actually when I made it to Cameron, I actually didn't tattoo for my first year and a half in prison. What's crazy is I actually stayed out of it because I seen how messy it could get in prison.
Yeah.
Like, not with the whole like burning their own inks and things like that. That wasn't what bothered me. It was I would see people get smoked for not meeting up to the requirements of not doing that guy's tattoo that he just paid you some canteen for. And I'm like, man, I'm young. I didn't want to be the cause of somebody being mad at me because, you know, maybe I messed up a tattoo a little bit. I mean, anybody that's tattooed in prison, man, single needle work is something you have to truly perfect. And I don't even still to this day. I mean, I became a really good single needle artist, but it wasn't something that I could even say that I perfected 100%.
Right.
The thing is, you know, prison's not the most sterilest place to tattoo.
Oh, gosh.
It's really not. So I actually, when I made it to Cameron and Crossroads, I linked up with a guy named Mandy Collins. Manny, believe it or not, kind of became like a father figure to me almost in there. Manny Collins had been tattooing with single needle in prison for over 47 years, guys.
Wow.
The man was an old man. He looked like Jesus. I
just got tattooed by Jesus.
He literally got represented on every camp that he stepped on, from being in the old walls all the way up until, you know, his final days that I knew him before he got out. Like, he was in there on double homicide. So Manny was that very go lucky, happy dude. And dude, I'm not lying, guys. He was an old man, but he acted like a kid. I'm not joking. He would joke around with you and play with you like you were, like he was one of the
I think
the
you'd
bros.
almost have to have that mentality in prison.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just lose your mind.
Well, he never let it break him. And that's the thing. Like, this man would tell me, like, he's like, I've been in prison for 30 something years now, you know, and he's like, I was tattooing on the streets with single needle when I was younger, all the way up until prison. Like, that's what they had back in the day, you know? And every camp that man was known on, he was known as one of the baddest single needle artists to ever step foot in any state prison in the state of Missouri. And I got to mentor straight under him in prison.
That's awesome.
I ended up personally moving myself into his wing just so that I could hang out with him.
You, in retrospect, you didn't really get a formal apprenticeship, but you got something.
Yeah.
You were mentored.
In there.
Yeah.
You were mentored, you know, granted it wasn't at the level that most are, but you still got some sort of knowledge.
Yeah.